Holy setup. Yuta Okotsu, special grade sorcerer and second to only Gojo in the modern age. And Jotaro Kujo, nicknamed the Invincible Stand user and user of the strongest stand for the majority of the series. Recently, the internet has matched these two up and it's been insane. I'm seeing people talk about this on Twitter, on TikTok, even some of my favorite YouTubers have been talking about this, including the GOAT Mongamus. And there is for sure a popular consensus already, but I believe that the entire internet is wrong, and if you give me, however long this video is going to be, I can prove it. Now, before we get into actually scaling these characters, I do want to say the information I'm using for JoJo's is all of the anime and manga from part 1 all the way to 6, and for Yuta, I will talk about the techniques that he gained later in the series at the end of the manga, but I will not spoil on how he actually got those abilities or pretty much who he was fighting. Other than Sukuna, because everyone knows that he was the final boss. And because I know this video was going to be very controversial, to be as charitable as possible, I'm not going to do verse equalization until the end of this video. So the majority of this video will not have verse equalization, meaning that Yuta cannot see or hurt Star Platinum because he is a stand, and the sure hit effect of Yuta's domain will not affect Jotaro. But also Jotaro and Star Platinum cannot see any curse energy or Rika at all. Now, personally, I think not doing verse equalization is really dumb and defeats the entire purpose of having what-if battles between different characters from different verses, but I want to be as charitable to Jotaro as I possibly can be, and in this fight, verse equalization really does not change the outcome at all. But I am done yapping, let's get into it. Jotaro Kujo is the main character of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 3 Stardust Crusaders. His stand Star Platinum is incredibly strong, incredibly precise, and incredibly fast. And I do mean incredibly fast, we're going to talk about that later. But on top of everything else, Star Platinum also has the ability to stop time. But like the majority of the very strong and fast stands in JoJo, Star Platinum has a very short range, only 2 meters, which is about like 6.5 feet. But in that short range, Star Platinum is pretty much uncontested. Even among other power type stands like Crazy Diamond, like the World, Star Platinum reigns as the strongest stand. And if you ask me, Jotaro reigns as the second best JoJo right behind the GOAT Joseph Joestar. Nice! JoJo favoritism aside, Star Platinum is very insane. In part 3, we see Star Platinum fight and even beat a powered up version of Silver Chariot. Base Silver Chariot is a stand that is bare minimum relativistic to the speed of light. And again, that same chariot then got powered up by the stand Anubis and even got part of his armor broken. And for those of you who don't know, that would make him even faster. And this isn't some one-off winky scaling. Araki is very, very clear with his scaling for these characters. In part 4, against Red Hot Chili Pepper, another stand that can move at the speed of light, Koichi outright states that only Jotaro can keep up. But that's only speed. When it comes to Star Platinum's insane strength, we have a bunch of other stuff to talk about. In the beginning of part 3, when Jotaro first gets his stand, we see Star Platinum punch Hierophant Green so hard that this guy destroys like a large part of the building they're in. Of course, it wasn't the entire building, but my boy definitely did shatter a lot of windows. Another notable feat is when Dio tried to slam an entire steamroller onto Jotaro, and Star Platinum had to fight against Dio in the World, slamming it on top of him. Now, to be fair, this would have crushed Jotaro, but Jotaro states that he stopped time at the 9-second mark to prevent him from getting crushed. But again, this is the World and Dio is not a regular person. Dio is a vampire, and vampires are very strong in the world of JoJo's. When Dio first got his powers, one of his first feats was throwing someone so hard at a group of people that they literally exploded. But Star Platinum's best feat by far is when he was able to destroy multiple giant teeth as hard as Diamond. Now, sadly with scaling, there is something called glazing, and some people have really awful takes on the power scaling of series. So with Jotaro and Yuta, I'm gonna have to clarify and debunk some of the atrocious high balls people try to give them to like glaze how strong they are, especially that Lightspeed JJK stuff, bro. That is like the most atrocious scaling ever, and I am so happy that Dabura finally debunked that entire Lightspeed JJK meta. That was so annoying to deal with. But first, we have to start with Jotaro, and some of the really atrocious glaze I see for Jotaro is that he has town level AP. Town level AP in JoJo's. And you may be asking, how do they even come to this conclusion? Well, it's 2 main fights they pull from. Number 1, the Sun Stand fight. Now, the Sun Stand is not actually the sun or actually as big as the sun. It's only about like 100 meters in the air, and the user of the stand has to stay in a close vicinity of the people he's trying to attack with it. Now the Sun Stand is able to attack with flaming debris, and we even see Silver Chariot deflect some of this debris. And for some reason, people will dead look you in the eyes and tell you that this flaming debris is town level AP. The same debris that we literally see the Crusaders block and hide from a rock. They use a rock to hide from this quote-unquote town level debris. Literally in the scene, they use a boulder as cover and it's working. And Jotaro's plan to save them from this quote-unquote town level AP debris is to make a hole in the ground and hide under like some rocks. And it worked too. It literally worked too, bro. This is a problem with power scaling. Instead of just watching the series and making accurate interpretations on how strong the characters are from their feats and from the statements in the show, people will have the most ridiculous, absurd interpretations just so they can push an agenda to make their favorite characters seem way stronger than they actually are. There's no actual logic, just terrible media illiteracy and terrible glaze. The next quote-unquote town level feat we see from Jotaro is whenever he fought the Stand Judgment. Now, the Stand Judgment forms as a mist, and this mist is so big it's able to cover an entire town. And the logic behind this is that because Jotaro was able to suck in Judgment, meaning he sucked in a mist that covered an entire town, he therefore has town level attack power. But this quote-unquote feat falls on its face for so many reasons. First of all, the anime literally specifies that all Star Platinum is doing is sucking in Judgment's face, and because of that, Enya cannot breathe. Or if you read the manga, this quote-unquote town level feat becomes even worse. We visibly see Justice manifest right there, and we can see how big it is. This is not some gigantic town level apparition. We see the maximum amount of fog that Star Platinum inhaled. But it doesn't stop there. This fake town level feat is triple garbage, dude. After the fight is over, we find out it wasn't even a town to begin with. If you actually watch the entire episode, the plot twist was that the place they were in the entire time was just this cemetery. Judgment just created the illusion they were in a town. They were just in this small cemetery the entire time. Now, I know the comments will definitely be filled with more ridiculous out-of-your-mind statements, but I wanted to tackle those because those are just so, they just sound so funny that people will seriously say that to you. Now, don't get it twisted. Star Platinum is still incredibly strong and fast, but there's a problem. Jotaro is not anywhere near as strong and fast as Star Platinum. This was actually covered very early in the series. Your stand could theoretically be invincible, but the user is not.
Do you understand?
And we see multiple times in the series that other stand users and even Jotaro, who is a pretty strong dude, is still just a human, bro. In the Steely Dan episode, when Jotaro couldn't use Star Platinum, a bunch of regular people were able to deal heavy damage to him. They beat him up and he was struggling to get up, he was bleeding. And in part 6, we literally see Jotaro get shot by a pistol, and it did damage. It literally shot him, he had holes in his body, bro. Jotaro does not have some crazy superhuman durability. Star Platinum has to block attacks for Jotaro. That's the entire point of a stand. Another example is right here. When Dio threw Jotaro to the ground, Star Platinum had to take the impact of the fall for him. I'm only really trying to explain this because JoJo's The Literal series explains this, but people will still dead look you in the eye and tell you, no bro, characters, they scale to their stands. That doesn't make any sense, bro. You can literally just watch the show and the show will tell you otherwise. The show itself disagrees. But that is pretty much the end of the Jotaro segment. Let's move on to Yuta. Now, the scaling for Jujutsu Kaisen can get really wonky. Some people think the top tiers in the verse are relative to the speed of sound or even faster, and others will say that JJK characters are the speed of light. Some people think that special grades have city level AP, and others will tell you that special grades are country level. And I will tell you right now, we are not doing that ridiculous glazing. With the exception of Dabura, who is relativistic, Jujutsu Kaisen characters are not light speed, and they aren't even mountain level. People only say ridiculous things like that because in the domains, we see Dagon create an entire island, we see Jogo create a mountain. But if you actually pay attention to the series explains this for you. In season 1 of JJK in the Maki vs. Mai fight, we learn about Mai's technique construction. It is explained that construction is able to create matter from nothing. And it goes on to say that unlike the manifestations we see in domains like Dagons, like Jogos, the things that are made by construction actually exist. They won't just go away, the technique won't just end, they are actually things in real life now. That is why construction has such a heavy curse energy cost, because you're actually making that said thing, unlike the manifestations in domains. Pretty much any series is going to be very clear and explain to you the scaling or how strong the characters are, especially in a shonen. It's only when people don't pay attention and just try to like grab and just claw for any weird abstract feat that people get confused and say ridiculous things. There is no Lightspeed JJK, there is no mountain level JJK, and there will probably never ever be a country level AP JJK. Well, okay, with the sole exception of Yuki, she actually can get that strong. I won't spoil how, but to people that have read the manga, you know about Yuki. Now, let's get on to the actual scaling for Yuta and how strong he actually is. As many of you know, Yuta is a special grade sorcerer and the second strongest of the modern age. But the question is, just how strong is a special grade? JJK actually gives us an answer in the story. When it comes to grade 1 cursed spirits, not even a tank has enough AP to actually hurt them. And when it comes to special grade cursed spirits, it'll be hard to kill them with a carpet bomb. A carpet bomb! I'm gonna play footage of a carpet bomb just so we can all like easily visualize the bare minimum for the power of these characters. These bombings are some crazy stuff, so I will have a timestamp if you don't want to watch it, you want to skip over it, because I know it's kind of hard for some people to watch this crazy, insane stuff. I completely understand this stuff is very graphic. This is the bare minimum you would need to hurt the weak special grades in the JJK universe. Not even high tiers like the disaster curses, regular special grades like the smallpox deity, like the finger bearers. You would unironically need this level of firepower to even hurt Choso. That'll be important later. And the average special grade curse can be killed by a grade 1 sorcerer. Remember, in JJK, the grading system works to where if you're the same grade as a curse, you should be stronger than that curse. A grade 2 sorcerer should be able to beat a grade 1 curse. A grade 1 sorcerer should be able to beat a special grade curse. And we even see this in the show. Mei Mei was able to beat the smallpox deity. Megumi was able to beat an even stronger version of the finger bearer. Yuji and Nobara beat Aso and Kechizu. Meaning that grade 1 sorcerers, yes, even Nobara and Megumi can output carpet bomb level AP. That is literally the bare minimum for the weak special grades, not even the crazy disaster curses. So if grade 1 sorcerers have that level of power, you can only imagine just how much stronger special grades are. And again, it's insane. Yuta is the second strongest of the modern age. So his speed is at least relative to people like Maki, like Naoya. Bare minimum, Yuta is subsonic. And when it comes to his AP, he is literally one-shotting those other cursed spirits. Not even with his actual techniques, no, he literally just backhanded Choso and knocked him out, bro. Again, Choso is a special grade curse. And Naoya, who is also grade 1, was literally wetting his pants at the presence of being around Yuta. He was like, hey big bro, I don't want no problems. I'm friends with Maki-chan, bro. He put the chan at the end of her name, bro. He was scared of Yuta. Yuta also has the second biggest cursed energy pool in the entire series, only behind Sukuna. His cursed energy levels are so insane, they not only act as a gigantic shield around him, but because he always has so much cursed energy just flowing out of his body, it's almost impossible to tell where he's going to attack you from. And we haven't even talked about his techniques or Rika yet. Yuta already has an insane cursed energy pool, but whenever he fully manifests Rika, he gets infinite cursed energy for 5 minutes. He will not run out of stamina. And when he fully manifests Rika, he gets access to all of his copied abilities and his cursed tools. Abilities like cursed speech, if the opponent hears the command, they are forced to do it. He can do simple things like making you not move, or even crazy things like literally telling you to die. And this thing has crazy range. We've seen Yuta destroy an entire mob of cursed spirits by just saying die. And he has even more techniques like sky manipulation. With this ability, Yuta can not only deflect projectiles, but also physical punches too. And the greatest technique of sky manipulation is the thin icebreaker. And this thing is crazy, bro. Thin icebreaker takes the tension from the sky they're pulling and uses it to attack the opponent. And Yuta confirms this is something you can't block. This goes right past any type of guarding. Which does make sense. You're literally getting hit by like crazy surface tension. You can't really just block that. It's covering your body regardless. We've seen Uro do some crazy things with Thin Icebreaker, some very large scale attacks. Yuta's stronger than her. He is at bare minimum capable of doing this himself. There's also the ability that Yuta took from Druve. Basically, Yuta can use Shikigami to create a path around the opponent. And if the opponent touches these paths, they will instantly take damage. Yuta also has a foresight ability he took from a guy named Charles where he can see into the future. That sounds really OP, but that ability kind of sucks though, so we're not even really going to talk about it. But two of Yuta's craziest techniques have to be Shrine and Jacob's Ladder. With Jacob's Ladder, Yuta's able to shoot a gigantic laser beam that not only dispels curse energy, but also curse techniques. And again, it's a giant laser, so the laser itself is hurting you. And this is a chunky laser. You can see how much area this thing is taking up. And again, Yuta has Shrine. He can use Cleave, he can use Dismantle. He has those abilities. And there's also Yuta's strongest attack, the True Love Beam. Now, the True Love Beam itself is just a crazy powerful condensed curse energy discharge attack. Yuta is fully capable of spamming regular giant waves of curse energy to mow down opponents. We see this in the fight against Kururushi, a special grade curse. The True Love Beam is just this, but pumped up to the max. Now, Yuta can only use the True Love Beam while Rika is fully manifested, but again, he has infinite curse energy while she's manifested. He can spam this. We literally saw him shoot consecutive ones against Ryu Ishigori right before his timer ran out. And something crazy about this is that Rika can shoot these on her own, so Yuta can go and fight the opponent, do whatever he wants, while Rika is spamming her own love beams. This is absolutely crazy. This means that Rika can be in the background just shooting her own love beams, while Yuta is using any of his other techniques, Jacob's Ladder, Dismantles, or his regular curse energy slashes that don't require Rika to be there. And on top of that, Yuta still has his domain expansion. Now, if we don't do verse equalization so Jotaro doesn't have curse energy, the sure hit effect won't work, but it doesn't matter. Just using his domain will not only trap his opponent, but also give Yuta a gigantic boost to all of his stats. But that is pretty much it for the Yuta segment of this video. Let's talk about who would actually win the fight and how the fight could go. Now, for the actual setting of the fight, we can say it takes place in maybe Cairo, Egypt, Shinjuku, Sendai Colony, just some type of city. Now, when Yuta usually fights, he usually opts to go close range and try to cut down his opponent. The second Yuta gets within Star Platinum's range, he's gonna get barraged, he's gonna get punched on, and he's gonna get sent flying. That's pretty much something that anyone on the internet knows. Everyone's been saying that, but what no one else has been talking about is that there is no world where Star Platinum is doing enough damage to actually hurt Yuta. Characters that Yuta can literally one-shot are walking off carpet bombs. Remember, curses like these are your average special grades. Characters that grade 1 sorcerers can defeat. After Yuta eats his first Order barrage, he is going to realize, okay, I'm just not gonna get close to that guy. And your first thought probably is, what are you talking about, Ron Patcher? Jotaro's light speed, he can just catch up to Yuta. What people seem to not really understand about JoJo's is that yes, the stands are incredibly powerful, but the users are not. Star Platinum is light speed, but he's tied to Jotaro, a regular person. And again, Star Platinum's maximum distance is 2 meters, 6 feet. And whenever you bring up Star Platinum's short range in a versus battle, people always bring up Starfinger. But this is another example of not reading and not paying attention. Starfinger is not something Jotaro can use to exceed his maximum range of 2 meters. Starfinger is an attack that Jotaro uses whenever him and Star Platinum are physically restrained. We literally see this in the fight against the orangutan and Dark Blue Moon. Because Jotaro and Star Platinum could not physically move themselves, Star Platinum just stretched his fingers. And again, Starfinger has really low attack power. They literally state this in the show. I do want to make this clear. In no universe is Yuta ever beating Jotaro in a up-close hand-to-hand fight. Star Platinum is way too fast and Yuta will never land a single strike. But the problem is that Star Platinum is attached to Jotaro. A 2 meter range is already awful, but Jotaro is again a regular person. He is super squishy. Unironically, any of Yuta's attacks will literally one-shot Jotaro. Jotaro is a regular person who has been shot and almost killed by regular bullets, dude. A big problem is that Yuta has so many long-range attacks that take up so much space, there is literally no way for Star Platinum to block the entire attack. And I'm not just making stuff up, I can literally use things from the show to prove this. In the episode where the Crusaders fight against the Wheel of Fortune stand, Jotaro goes to fight it. And after Joseph warns Jotaro that they don't know what the stand can do, the stand shoots out what the Crusaders think are invisible bullets, and it hits Jotaro right there. Could you imagine if Jotaro tried to press Yuta, and Yuta just hit him with a dismantle? He's dead! He would literally die right there. And again, I want to keep on going. And some may argue, oh, that's only because Jotaro didn't know what the ability was. So later, the Crusaders figure out that he's actually just shooting really small bullets of oil. Again, Jotaro and the other Crusaders know what he's doing now. And again, Jotaro gets hit by this barrage of these small oil bullets. For those of you who don't know, even if you do have curse energy, Dismantle is literally invisible. If Yuta wants to use Dismantle, Jotaro is cooked. He won't even know what's happening. He's just gonna die. And that's not even an outlier. Stuff like that has happened again. Do you remember in part 4 when Jotaro tried to avoid the sheer heart attack explosion and just failed at doing it? Dude, this explosion was so small, it didn't even engulf the entire store they were in. Koichi was just fine on the other side of the store. And I don't say that as a way to downplay the power of sheer heart attack, that's not my point. My point is that Jotaro doesn't have the movement speed to actually avoid large-scale attacks. Even earlier in the sheer heart attack fight, Jotaro wasn't just dodging the explosions. All he could do was throw sheer heart attack away from him so the explosion would happen further away. Jotaro stopping time and throwing a bomb away from him is something he can definitely do. But Jotaro stopping time and trying to move like gigantic energy slashes, that is not something he can just do. And for some reason, people think Jotaro stopping time will make it impossible for Yuta to attack him. But like, did you actually watch the show, bro? You literally cannot do consecutive time stops. You have to have a recharge time. And I know some people are going to be like, yes, he can. No, Jotaro literally states it. He literally states it in Stone Ocean. He needs time to recharge. Now, for the 1 to 2 second time stops he did in part 4, the cooldown is obviously much lower because it's not that long of a time stop. But the problem with these 1 to 2 second time stops is that they're literally useless in a fight against Yuta. Early in the series, we literally see how far Jotaro can move in these time stops. It is like a sidestep at most. A literal rat figured out that Jotaro was going to do a sidestep with time stop and just ricochet the bullets. These super small bullets, can you imagine how easy it would be for Yuta to use any of his giant attacks to just hit Jotaro? So Jotaro using a small time stop with a small cooldown time is literally out of the question. He will still die. If Jotaro even wants to have a chance to avoid any of Yuta's attacks, he has to use a longer 5-second time stop, which has a long cooldown. And after said cooldown, Jotaro is going to be a sitting duck. And I'm talking about all these gigantic AoEs, but if Yuta really wants to, he brings out Kurt's speech and he says, hey, Jotaro, die. It won't affect Star Platinum, but it's gonna affect Jotaro. He's gonna hear it. What is Jotaro gonna do if Yuta just tells him to die? And I really feel like this range issue is a big problem because not only can Jotaro not really defend against these gigantic AoEs, but also he can't even close the distance. Again, bare minimum, Yuta is a subsonic fighter. We have seen Yuta and people on his level literally blitz around the battlefield on some crazy stuff. JoJo's characters are not doing this. With the sole exception of Father Pucci, no one is doing this in JoJo's. And speaking of Pucci, I have a fun fact. Father Pucci, the same guy that was like blitzing around and just soloing the entire Part 6 team, the guy that gave Jotaro so much trouble, his travel speed was as much as a bullet train, bro. Someone with the travel speed of a bullet train was soloing the Part 6 team, including Jotaro. Never in your life ever say this guy beats Yuta ever again, bro. How did the entire internet get this wrong? And again, I can literally give you examples from the show. Do you guys remember back in part 4 when Red Hot Chili Pepper was eavesdropping on the Dwayne gang and found out the location of Joseph Joestar and he went there to go kill him? He literally ran away from them on a motorcycle. There is no way you watched this scene and went, Jotaro, what are you doing? Use that light speed movement you're known for, bro. Why don't you just blitz towards him? Use Star Platinum to blitz towards him. No one did that, bro. The show already established that the stand users are just people. Later, Okuyasu uses the hand to erase the space to catch up to the motorcycle. Which, unironically, does that mean that Okuyasu has way more travel speed than Jotaro? That is actually funny. But the entire point of this scene is that because he had the motorcycle, he was gonna arrive at the place where Joseph was before them. Again, he's using a motorcycle, bro. Like, come on, let's stop coping. Let's be serious. Do you remember back in part 3? The plan was to run away from Dio. So what did Joseph do? He bought a car to run away from him. Dio sees them driving away. Does Dio just like go after them on foot? No, he gets another car and he has someone drive him there, which is actually really funny because, you know, Dio like literally doesn't know how to drive, which is really funny. But after the driver gets Dio close enough to their car, he throws the driver so he destroys their car. And after that, then Dio's like, okay, now I can actually chase them. And what's even funnier, Dio is still slower than Joseph. Joseph was running away from Dio and Dio cannot catch up until we have to stop time, bro. I literally have no idea how people who have watched JoJo's and have watched JJK look at this versus battle and think, oh yeah, Jotaro can totally close the distance on Yuta if Yuta wants to zone him out. Bro, Dio and by extension Jotaro aren't even faster than like motorcycles or trucks. To put that into perspective, Yuji is faster than Season 1 Yuji is way faster than Jotaro. Season 1 Yuji is fast enough to run after an automobile. Jotaro is not. Also, speaking of Yuji, not trying to slander, but I know that like one of Jotaro's best feats is from that OVA where he like threw the gigantic pillar. I would just play this on screen right now. Start Platinum, maybe Yuji level, question mark? Okay, I'm joking. But seriously, even with using a 5-second time stop, Dio and Jotaro have shown to not be able to move that much. I'm pretty sure that Kakyonin literally says Dio's max range using his ability is like around 10 meters, I think. Do you guys remember Dio's second the world when he stopped time and Jotaro, who was like across the street, Dio was like, oh, he's way out of my range. I guess I gotta just kill Joseph first. Dude, he's right there. Yo. But like seriously, everyone is like so overconfident. They're like, oh bro, he's gonna stop time and he's gonna blitz over there and he's gonna make him to like a red paste. Honestly, in recent memory, this is one of the biggest cases of someone thinking a character is cooler, so they have to be stronger too. If I had to summarize this fight, I would pretty much say that Yuta has no chance at beating Jotaro in a close range fight. But Yuta not only has a variety of tools needed to destroy Jotaro from a distance, he also has the mobility to get away from Jotaro to do that in the first place. While Jotaro does need to get close to Yuta to do damage, but doesn't have the actual mobility needed to do that. And even if he did get close enough, Start Platinum's attack power is nowhere near enough to actually hurt Yuta. And even if it was enough to hurt Yuta, Yuta has RCT. Have I even mentioned RCT yet? But yeah, Yuta can like literally heal himself. Yuta is literally going to run laps around Jotaro while nuking him with attacks that Jotaro literally can't see and defend against. Okay, I know I already brought this up, but like with the JoJo travel speed cope, like, did you guys watch Josuke versus Highway Go-Go and think, what the heck is Josuke doing? This stand can only go 60 kilometers per hour. Why is Josuke using this motorcycle to run away? Josuke, just use your stand and blitz over there, dude. Like, bro, what? By the way, 60 kilometers per hour is like 37 miles per hour. That is like pathetic. Lions and cheetahs are faster than that. And Crazy Diamond is also way faster than that. Josuke even says that Crazy Diamond is way faster than a measly 60 kilometers per hour. Please, we need to stop with this cope. This is like one of the worst copes with this versus battle. Also, we have literally seen in JoJo's, if someone is occupying Start Platinum, you can just attack Jotaro. There's nothing he can do about it. In the battle against Whitesnake and John Galley, thick! Yo, no, but seriously, why did Araki draw him so caked up? What was the point?
I was like, damn nigga, what you doing out here with all this ass? Double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon, hella ass, the sun is still out, my nigga.
Start Platinum was busy deflecting bullets and Whitesnake just came up and cooked Jotaro. In JJK, Rika and Yuta already do pincer attacks and combo attacks all the time. If Rika wants to shoot love beams on one side while Yuta goes on the other side and does any of his other crazy attacks, what is Jotaro going to do about that? Really, think about this. What is Jotaro going to do if they do that? If he does a short time stop, this amount of distance will not let him dodge anything, bro. This is not going to dodge any of the gigantic attacks they have. And realistically, even with a 5-second cooldown, Jotaro and Dio, they cannot move that much. I mean, look at this. Jotaro is literally just across the street. Before Joseph fell, him and Dio were on the same building, bro. They are not that far apart. But let's be charitable and say that Jotaro can dodge Yuta's attacks in a 5-second time stop. After that, he's on cooldown. And again, Rika and Yuta can spam these attacks. They did them consecutively in the show already. Honestly, if you want Jotaro to win, you should want versus equalization on this fight. Yuta doesn't have to see Start Platinum. As long as he's 6 feet away from Jotaro, he literally can't get hit. But imagine Jotaro can't see Rika or can't see any of these gigantic attacks. This meme right here getting crushed, that's literally gonna happen. And if not, still, the beams, the explosion, it's gonna kill Jotaro. So let's do versus equalization to where they can see each other's attacks now. Yeah, this is actually worse because domain expansion GG. Like, bro. This is pretty much the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell me if you agree or disagree in the comment section below. Give me your own thoughts. This is actually my first power scaling video in years. I really do want to do more. I really enjoy it, and I really want to make some like actual takes and really just take down all the really atrocious agenda that people be doing, bro. There's so much agenda, bro. I want to become the agenda hunter, bro. We gotta fact check these terrible scalers. But before I do leave, I do want to give like a mini simulation on how exactly I think the fight could go.
奴何も手出しできない。
おいでリカ。
スタープラチナザワールド。